Hey guys, I want to take a quick minute to do a video for you. I know it's been a long time since the page has been updated, and I sincerely apologize for that, but there's been a lot going on. We're going to cover a couple of updates today. I know everybody's probably curious about the TV production that's ongoing. There's been some major things happen on that I can't really talk about yet, but it's coming, and we'll get into depth on it when I can. I just can't say anything about it yet. But what I'm going to talk to you about today is some of the current happenings around the globe. You know, Trump just had a summit with Kim Jong Un. That fell apart. They ended it quickly, and then when Kim left Hanoi, he went straight back to Pyongyang with no stops. That was a bit of a tell that there was an issue there. And then almost immediately after he gets home, yesterday there's a 2.9 magnitude quake detected, or quake-like event detected in North Korea. So that means one of a few things. They're either blasting a tunnel to prepare for another test, or they conducted some kind of a small yield test. They're also working on one of their launch facilities and getting it back in order very rapidly for potential tests, or possibly they may claim satellite launches. The real problem with that is all the news about the construction on the launch facility came out after the summit was over, but obviously our government knew about it leading up to it because it's just now being made available to us. So Trump knew when he was in Hanoi meeting with him that they were working on these launch facilities again. So this is something to keep an eye on. Kim has started his hostile rhetoric again about North Korea or South Korea and the U.S. military exercises, and of course about the sanctions and stuff. So it looks like that might be heating up a little bit again. As if there wasn't enough going on in that region of the world between India and Pakistan. If you guys have been following that, that started with a suicide bombing in India that killed 40 Indian soldiers. This led to a cross-border incursion into Pakistan by the Indian Air Force to bomb targets that the Pakistanis say were not hit. The Indians say they were hit. Anyway, it went round and round. It ended up with a Indian MiG being shot down by the Pakistanis, potentially with an F-16, which violates our deal with Pakistan for the F-16, so there's that whole issue now to deal with as well. But the Pakistanis released the Indian pilot unharmed and in short order, actually. It shows that there are some level heads in play, but Modi, the PM of India, is very hostile. He's got an election coming up, and he's trying to bank on this hostility over the Kashmir region, which is what these two nations are fighting over. There's still ongoing contact at what they call the line of contact in Kashmir, where the two nations basically meet over this disputed area. It's daily artillery exchanges, multiple launch rocket systems are being used, anti-tank guided missiles are being used, as well as aircraft, attack helicopters and things like that. So it's still ongoing. And then yesterday, there was another suicide bombing on a bus in India that killed 10 civilians. So we're waiting to see how Modi's going to respond to that. You know, he's responded pretty quickly to the bombing of 40 of his soldiers. What's he going to do about the civilians? Anyway, it's hot over there now. I mean, they're actually shooting at one another. It's turned into a hot shooting war. It's not necessarily a war yet, but it's definitely a border conflict. And the real issue is that both of these guys are nuclear powers, and India, their stated protocol is first strike. You know, they know Pakistan has nukes. Both these countries have them. And we all need to be concerned about that. If these guys start lobbing even regional nukes at one another, it would be a huge problem. And that's what gets me is our national media barely even covers this. They're hardly even talking about it. But this is a concern to us. I know a lot of you are going to go, it's India and Pakistan, that bother me. You let them start setting off some nukes and it's going to bother all of us. In addition to the Pakistan and India issue is still the Ukrainian issue and what Russia's doing. Russia's becoming more and more hostile. They just recently officially backed out of the INF. They have been unofficially out of the INF for some time now. But things are building there in Ukraine, which we're back in the Ukrainian side. The Russians are backing the separatists in Donbass area and Luhansk. And there are tens and tens of thousands of Russian soldiers just over the border in Russia in that region. Now it's being claimed through the defection of a recent female commander in Donbass that the area is already full of Russians and the Russian soldiers are already there and that they're actively engaged in this. Remains to be seen, really. There's been no proof other than her words of that. But there have been a number of Russians spotted over there, and we know that Russia is supplying them all their weapons and hardware and everything else. So that's not going to calm down anytime soon. But it's a potential conflict area for us because we're there as well supporting the Ukrainians and training them and things like that. And then the Russians have now started pushing things out too into the Sea of Azov. There was an incident where they fired on some Ukrainian Coast Guard vessels and took the crews prisoner, captured the vessels even. So that's heating up a little bit as well. So those are a number of things on the international front we need to be watching. Domestically, if you live in Sacramento or in California, you're probably well aware of the riots that are currently taking place in the evenings, and it's kind of weird that these protesters work bankers' hours in Sacramento and other cities with BLM and Antifa over the police shooting that was just ruled justifiable and no charges are being filed against an officer for shooting a young black guy there, even though he was unarmed. The actions he was taking, even the state decided not to press charges against the officer. It was that clear kind of a shooting. But it stirred up BLM and Antifa, and they're rioting in the streets and doing the kind of things they typically do. We'll have to see if this gets any traction and spreads any farther like it did when Ferguson happened in Baltimore and things like that. But so far right now it's contained to California. Just something to keep an eye on. There's been rumblings, of some far left movement happening in a very antagonistic way. But again, we haven't seen anything yet. But we have to be careful of the things we hear and what we believe based on that stuff. There's a lot of hearsay out there, and I try to forward the things to you guys that are legitimately happening and potentially could happen as the way they're staging. So just wanted to give you guys some updates. We're going to try to do these more frequently, at least once a week. We're going to get you guys another little clip up, as well as some new blog posts. I know the blog is way overdue. I have some stuff ready for you guys, and we'll get it in the works. We're going to talk a little bit about what was happening in France as well with the yellow vests and that sort of thing. It's died down a little bit. We're still going to cover that as well. So until next time, check out the page. Hit the shop for any of your swag that you want. Signed book, the box set is out. The signed books are there. T-shirts, hats, patches, stickers, you name it, it's all there. So until next time, this is Chris. See you guys later.